that's getting across. That's really good.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. It's like I'm just like, holy shit. And to end the EP with Kyrie is like, oh, you know?
Yeah. No, we had that was part of the crowdfunding that we usually do because we do the crowd funds to release our records. So we kind of act as our own label, at least to a point, and then we usually hand it off and partner with a label for distribution. But one of the perks on our Kickstarter crowdfund stuff is to like assist in picking the cover song that ends up on the next pressing. So we've been doing that for the last like six crowdfunds. So we're gonna keep doing it.
Hell
It's
yeah.
yielded
That's
pretty good results. So
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. And I think that's a really smart, it's a smart way to do it. You guys do everything for the music and act as your own, label essentially, and then find those partners, to get you out with this distribution and what have you. That I think where bands make a fatal mistake is they sign whatever is handed to them and they end up losing publishing rights and ownership of the masters and so on and so forth.
yeah, no, I mean you can get stuck really easy. I mean, luckily, like we've been in and out of situations like that, so we kind of know what to look for nowadays. But I mean, we're really happy with the way that we release it. So I mean, I don't think much is going to change really. RPM has been on, and they helped us kind of co-do this, so we're going to try to do that just on a bigger scale with the next release.
Right on. And RPM is like they're like a force. I feel like they have everyone in metal that is something going on, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean they're a growing label, and they've got all the old good members of some other labels that are kind of the ones that are pioneering this new one. So we're really happy to be on the doorstep of those guys, and they've done a really good job opening those doors for us so far.
Right on. So you guys just got off tour too, huh?
Yeah, we just got home probably I think 3 days ago for us from North American run that we did. My run it was 4.5 weeks I think, 26 shows, 10,500 miles. Yeah,
What a, just a little short one.
yeah, short trip.
Yeah. How did that go over for you all?
It was really good. I mean, it beat our expectations. I mean, we had already done like essentially like leg one of our first headlining tour last year, but it didn't go out west. So we were actually that tour we were originally supposed to be supporting somebody, but that kind of fell through, and then us and Stryker were already kind of like ready to go. So we just kind of turned it into our own tour, and then we ended up just kind of making it ourselves. And that's what I'm saying. Like usually, you want to go out and support, so we're constantly growing. But it was the first time we went out to the West Coast by ourselves, like on top of the bill. So we had no idea what to expect. We've supported so many times over there, and that test has never happened. But we were happy that the people in the West Coast were, and obviously Western Canada, like somewhere we're far away from Chicago, all the way through there. Like it was really nice to get those first shows under our belt by ourselves, and they were awesome. I mean, that was it was weird because like all these people show up and like you're starting to like not know the faces personally, but these people
Yeah.
know you. So it's just like, oh, okay, like these people are remembering, and I don't know who the hell these people are, but that's awesome. You know what I mean? Because like we've done so many shows in some markets, like the 50, 100, people there. You know what I mean? Because you've seen them so many times. But when you start losing that, like no idea who these people are, and they're coming in with our shirts, it's a good feeling. It makes you feel like the work kind of paid off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the things you guys are doing obviously are paying off and, in that regard, like that's I think for any band that goes out and does things, they want to go to a town and see people showing up, right, with their shirts and
Oh
knowing
yeah.
who they are, going, "Hey, Camden," and you're like, what?" Like, "Yeah, hey."
Yeah. I mean, that's part of growing is just, you just it's an impossibility to know like every fan's like face, name, phone number, email
Yeah.
address. I mean, we're not computers, so it's just it was cool to see that, especially so far from home.
Yeah. Where's home for you guys?
Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. So back in the warmth.
Yeah. I was just complaining to my wife right now. So I'm in Louisville. I was like, God bless, it's freaking cold today. Like, can we
Oh, if it's cold in Florida, it's cold in Florida right now. So
yeah.
it's gonna be
Like,
cold everywhere else.
yeah, get me out of here. And I'm like, I leave tomorrow and go north. So I'm like, what is wrong with me?
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah. So out of the run you guys just did, what was there a show that just completely exceeded expectations or one you thought was going to
Um,
be terrible and just crushed?
no, not really. I mean, all of them actually, all of them, most of them beat our expectations. I mean, honestly, like some highlights were actually Winnipeg was really kind of crazy good. Because I mean, like we've only been there once, and I was on the Blind Guardian tour 14 years ago. But like, we had I think a little over 100 people there, and it's just like it was just why are these people showing up in Winnipeg? You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
was just like, oh, like, it was a market I didn't know. Like, I was expecting, who knows, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, hoping for, close to 100. We got it, you know what I mean? But it was just crazy because we had, I mean, realistically, like the band's only played there one time,
Yeah.
14 years ago. So who's actually going to remember? But that was really good. Chicago, Seattle, San Diego, uh, Phoenix, Denver, all those places were really awesome. Greensboro was all great. Atlanta, the Florida shows were good. Everything, I mean, everything was pretty good. I mean, honestly, they were all evenly attended, and it was a good time. Everybody did pretty well.
That's awesome. It's hard. It's so hard. Like I just read an article yesterday uh, that the new like super group Category 7 just canceled their tour for what was it? Lack of ticket
Oh
sales.
yeah, I seen it. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these some bands will go out and they're just. I mean, even just because you're in some big band, it doesn't mean that it's a ticket to just have unlimited success. It's like you got to grind. Even if you're a successful band, you have to have the right moves at the right time and the right shots being called. Or even a great already established successful band isn't going to survive. So it's just like that's what I'm saying. Like it doesn't surprise me to see that. I mean, I had a thought that whoever's booking it had a little bit more like damage control before they booked it. If it's that out of place, you know what I mean, or depending on the
Yeah.
demands of all those people, you know, it's just a reality check for those people. I mean, the bands that are going to survive are always going to survive because they're within their means. So I mean, it's just I would maybe none of those guys want to go out in a van, but I bet you they could make it work if they wanted to. But ain't nobody going to try to do it in a van with those guys.
Yeah,
Ain't no, I
not
bet you they
many
would
for
if they had
sure.
to drive or something like that. But usually, like certain level of musicians, they just don't put up with that anymore.
Yeah, after you've hit a certain level of success, it's like, cool, I don't want to be in a van anymore. But,
Yeah,
you know,
but the tickets have to show up, and if they're not, that means no matter what, you're still that band.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
the
that's the
reality check
truth.
of it. Yeah, yeah, legit. So it's just like I mean, it's a humbling. What I mean? We've been there. That's why we're able to survive because we're smart. With our stuff. Like you don't just like start a band, put a bunch of people in it, and then just like we're in a bus like doing two, three, four, 500 people a night. It's unrealistic. I mean, unless it's like the musicians that could go out and by themselves and fill seats. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which I'm not sure how many people that's doing right now for those guys. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a really weird landscape too, right? It's been a tough year with groceries and gas and all those costs, right, up. So touring costs being up, I'm sure, you're God, that's like it's John Bush and Jason Bittner and
yeah,
uh Phil Demmel and Jack Gibson and Mike Orlando. So, they've got decent names behind them, but the the band itself is still, it's pretty new, right?
yeah, yeah. No, I mean that's what I'm saying. It's just like even though the names are there, it's just like these are all people that just, I mean, I don't want to say it's, and I'm not shocked, to be quite honest. I'm not trying to, I'm realistic because I'm a TM and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's just like, to
Yeah.
me, it was just another headline. I mean, it sucks, but like, wrong planning. They probably handed everything off to somebody else. Well, let them do it. And then like, they got an email. It's like, hey guys, like, you're going to be out like all these thousands of dollars. And they're like, what? Like, real mad at whoever put it together. And it's just like, come on. Like, and success is not handed out as easily as some people think it is.
That's
You
no,
know,
that's the
no matter, that's
truth.
what I'm saying. Like, no matter what, like, you could build a band right now with like, you could put Kiko Loureiro in it. You could put, let's see, Fabio Leone. You know what I mean? And a bunch of all these other power metal people. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's just like that band's unproven, untested. Even if it's got all these people, it's not gonna do like that. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd have to take like, you know, Wolfgang, or yeah, Wolfgang Van Halen, and like, you
Almost a
know,
house. You need those people that are like
like
essentially
yeah, they're on
household
like,
names.
yeah, like all almost crossed over into like pop culture.
Yeah.
Then it might work. You know what I mean? But even still, that's going to be really, really shallow on like the big club or the arena level. Still going to be a huge risk. So yeah, I don't know. That bands are there's something, I guess, in modern music to be said, that when the new band, like, several new bands that are actual, like, all like organic bands that have been working together for a long time, and those are the next fleet of bands that are going to succeed, like, big time, long term. You know what I mean? So it's just like, the super groups are cool and all, and I'm not like shitting on any of them. They're awesome, but the people looking for a quick buck, I think, are going to find exactly that. You know what I mean? And they're going to either make or lose that quick buck, and then the band's going to be done. So it's just like, generally, I try to pay more attention to like, the not necessarily real bands, but bands that are just, it's not just a like a quick thing. You know what I mean? It's like these people
Yeah.
are like really into it. I don't know those guys at all, so I could be completely wrong. But it's just bands have been around for 10, 15 years that are like
Sure.
just now seeing the light of day. I really, like, look up to those guys, especially they grew in the modern climate of the music industry, when things are much harder than they were, I would imagine, back in like the 80s and 70s, for growing bands. So
Well, and you look at most of that band and they all come from the 80s and 90s, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you're talking Armored Saint and Violence and Machine Head and
yeah,
then, you know,
yeah,
oh shit, Exodus and
yeah, yeah,
Shadows Fall, right? So they've got history, but it obviously not with Category 7, first album, tons of press out there.
yeah.
It's hard for any band
Yeah.
to go out and
I
do
mean,
that.
honestly, like, I hadn't even heard about it, like, until I saw the headlines. I was like, who the hell is the super group? Like, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, I was a big Shadows Fall, fan back when I was, I guess I could say, when I was a kid. When I discovered like metalcore, they came out in that whole metalcore scene. So, I mean, I know Jason Bittner, I know Exodus, obviously, I know the Armored Saint stuff, but even still, it's just like, all those bands, minus maybe Machine Head and Shadows Fall, are playing like 400 to 800 size clubs in the US. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't try a super group, like, unless like this thing's gonna do like serious, serious stuff. I mean, look at Arion, Avantasia, you know what I mean? Those were all super groups, but they took years of work to put in, and they didn't play certain markets because they couldn't pull it off,
Yeah.
That's why it took Avantasia so long to come to the US, and then finally they did it, and they pulled it off with Powerwolf. Powerwolf's not really a super group, but like, they made a name for themselves over, 13, 14, 15 years, building, making the right moves. Now they're playing arenas, so it's just like, there's just I don't know. I'm just wary on like quick, quick, quick release super groups.
Yeah. I totally get it because it almost, you see it and it happens so fast for him. Album comes
Yeah,
out like, oh shit, cool, let's go tour, let's do this thing, and you wonder, right? Kind of what you were saying, right? Or is it just a money grab? Like, oh, let's put this together and see what we can do with it.
Yeah.
Or, is it good? It seems like talking to, John and the guys, it seems like they've all really enjoyed putting it together, which is cool. So I
Yeah.
hope there's
I don't even know what it sounds like. So it's just like, yeah, I haven't even checked it out. I'm so new to that right there. I'll have to check it out. But I just, I mean, just coming as a TM from that
yeah,
point of view, looking at knowing what like a bus tour entails, like financially and logistically, and like, bands like that aren't going to travel without a front of house, without a driver, without a merch person, without a tour man. You know what I mean? I don't think Jason
yeah,
Bittner's going to get up and start whipping everybody's ass in the morning like the TM would. You know what I mean? So it's just like, like it gets expensive really quick, like, and there's already established bands that are still like eating that budget. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's just like they're, unless it's a van tour or a sprinter tour and they're doing like hotels every day and one, everything's squeezed in a little bit, there's no way. It's just, or they're going to have, a budget to lose money until they make money and pay it off and
for sure.
essentially finance their moves, which is what a lot of big bands do. There's some bands that have all that money behind them that have these calculated losses essentially, but and then they make it back and then some, but that's a whole nother you know what I mean? That's a
Yeah.
whole lot of stuff behind them at that point. So that's a totally different conversation. But I mean, it sucks, but touring in today's world, like you have to be frugal or you won't survive.
Yeah, I mean that's life. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you've got to be real careful on what you're doing uh with the steps you take moving forward,
Oh yeah.
you
No,
know.
for sure.
So,
Everything is to get it lower.
yeah. Oh yeah. And it's tough, especially I'm sure merchandise costs over the last 10 years have just really, skyrocketed too.
Yeah, yeah. It's not as crazy on the merch side. I mean, it's still relatively like affordable. I mean, hoodies are always the most expensive things to print. Um, but I mean, the merch is okay. It's I mean, that hasn't increased, I guess, as much as other things. But we usually get a pretty decent job with our merch companies.
Oh yeah. That's good. I know I guess, my question is for you as a touring band, what does that look like, the merch, like your merch sales versus like ticket sales? Do you rely on that from one night to the next, or is that just kind
Oh
of a
yeah, I mean,
bonus?
usually the general like way a tour works is the venue or the booking agent will establish like a fee, like a flat guarantee or whatever, and then at a specific point, like if the show does way more than money than everything, all the expenses are paid, promoters paid, there's a point of which you hit like a bonus, and then like the money after a certain split point, like gets broken off the majority to the band because everybody's made their money essentially.
Yeah.
So like that's generally that's a little bit rare to find. There's a lot of bands that hit that point, but like generally like that's if the tour is popping off, bands hit the split like every night or every other night, and then the next round they come back, they'll go to a bigger room. You know what I mean? Because they're like there's so many people that came. Um, but essentially like generally the bands as a very general standpoint, you generally spend the guarantees on road costs. So essentially, like, so that way, essentially, either nothing touches the merch income, and that's usually what goes to the bands, or like everything but the merchandise invoices gets paid with the guarantee. So like then the merch invoices get paid with the merch money, but then the show is like if it's an expensive show, like you dip the merch bill is in the merch side versus the show fee side. So that's usually like depending on what kind of money they're getting in the guarantee, that usually kind of gives you the idea of like how much money can we spend on rentals to make our production bigger or smaller, so on and so forth. Smaller bands are generally like stopped at like how much crew can we bring? You know what I mean? Because you're not like a beginning band's not going to do everything themselves. They're going to dry, sell merch, settle, pack and ship everything. When you're usually the first thing that a band gets is a merch guy. So then you're bringing a body with you, then a front of house. and then eventually a driver. So then there's three, you know what I mean? So like you're basically your first money is being spent on either rentals, for like somewhere you can sleep and drive, or just drive, and then you have hotels, and then you have your crew, you know what I mean, whatever their rate is. So usually all that is you kind of grow with the show fee, you know what I mean? And then the merch is essentially how you eat when you go home and pay your rent and stuff like that. I mean, all bands are basically like Abercrombie and Fitches and like
Yeah.
J.C. Penney's that just sell music. You know what I mean? And like you
Yeah.
see us performing it and doing it. I mean, but I mean, we are essentially a textile shop that plays music. I mean, it's just that's all bands are. You know what I mean? Like the money they're
That's
going to get from ticket sales, and then which is essentially paying everything off, and then shirts and merch. Like that's it. You want to wear the stuff because it's your favorite sound is pretty much how that rolls, and that's pretty much every band. So I mean, usually like you try to not touch the merch, and like that's the most important thing that a band can ever have is merchandise.
yeah. Well, I know it is for me. I'm like constantly like, I go to a show, I want to buy a shirt or an album or something like,
Oh yeah, no, it goes a long way. I mean, when you spend money at a band's merch table, like that's actually like generally going to like feed them or like pay for their light bill, like generally speaking. Like in every way I can think of, I know some of that money goes directly to those bands.
that's crazy. That's cool though. Like
Yeah.
that's a cool insight into, touring from a TM perspective, or, just from a touring person's
Yeah, yeah. No,
perspective,
even on behalf of a bunch of bands I've seen, it's just that's generally how it's split. I mean, it's a real you know there's a way to. I mean, obviously, nothing's like quite that cut and dry, but like generally speaking, I mean, that's what you try to do, and then there's
Yeah.
little things around those borders, what I mean, that are worked and finagled. But yeah, no, I mean the merch tables, like that's the band's bread and butter.
Hell yeah. So for all you out there, go buy the fucking merch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically.
It's the most important thing. So, on the square, we're gonna go back to that. Is there a song on there that you like more than the others?
Um, I like them all. I should say, I mean, I like that kind of like slower pace, like arena rock, like Wilted Pieces.
Yeah.
And the video came out really. I mean, the other videos came out good, but that one was just like fun to shoot because we were in just a different spot. We did it at this place called Selfie World Extreme, and it was just a different. We never shot somewhere like that, and it looked better than it should have for what we did. You know what I mean? So it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, just like the little spots that they had were really nice. It was shot right, and the edit came together really quick. Everything for that song came together like really, really like quick, and it was easy. With the other two videos, like we were chasing sunlight and timing everything, so it was a little bit more stressful to shoot just because of the timing of the sun and stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, that's it's a little bit of an easier song, so like you have to think a little bit less when you play it. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
give you time to goof off a little bit more. Um, Probably that one. I mean, just because it was just got a little bit more laid back. It's got a big hook in it.
Okay. That was like the slowest song, and I was like, that's cool. I like the faster paced
Yeah,
ones,
yeah.
like I really like the way the square starts, and then of
Oh
course
yeah, yeah,
through the waves is super solid too. So it's like, again though, the whole album is
yeah,
it's fucking solid.
yeah. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we've been doing the fast stuff for like so long. It's kind of like you have a chance to like hang back a little bit on the slow one. That's probably why I'm just like, like a little bit of a change of pace.
A breather.
Yeah, been eating that power metal pie for a long time.
Oh yeah. Has that always been like your thing, like power metal?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like even like if you go back, like I think when we did the Decennium record, which is the one before Zenith, like that was the one where we would just like we basically like the mission was to put like 10 full throttle baseball bet style power metal songs on a record. You know what I mean? And then like after that we started kind of like I mean, it still sounds like the band, but it's just, and it's still power metal, but it's just like, we added some different vibes to it, like especially on like you listen to like Zenith and then the Square, how that's, essentially there's like two power metal songs, then like a heavy one, and then there's like a slow like arena rock style one. So like we'll kind of like weave through like when we do the next record, like it'll probably be just like the Square, but at like three of each song or like two of one, and then you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
they got like four heavy songs on this thing. Like, what the hell's going on? You know what I mean? But like, still something like that. But then like you hit back. The funny thing is like when you make like an album like that, you kind of like veer off a little bit. But then all the power metal people are like, oh, but like, are the fourth song? Like, where's the power? Like, where's the fastest? And you hit them with another one. Like right as soon as they like, oh, okay. Because I noticed like sometimes like even on some other bands' records, like I mean, honestly, like the Hammerfall ones. I was a diehard Hammerfall fan, but like the new ones lose me a little bit, and like I'm looking for that kind of classic, like Hammerfall, like fast paced thing, and then like you might get it like once or twice on an album now, and then it's just like if I could just get it like after every third song, like this would be really great. That's just my own dumb opinion. You know what I mean? For what I
Not
want to hear,
dumb.
but like that's kind of like what I'm trying to like aim for, like the way that the album flows, I guess. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
still Seven Kingdoms, Seven Kingdoms, Seven Kingdoms, but then it's just like you give everybody in the fanship like their
They're piece
their
of the
shot.
pie.
Yeah, 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 pretty much. So like you get experimental, but then you always come back to your root, you know, and do some different things, then come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the
But
plan.
well, and I think, I mean, of course, my opinion is I like it when a band experiments and tries new thing. Like it, of course, it's great when you have like AC/DC. Like I love AC/DC, but it's what you're getting every single time. It doesn't
Oh yeah,
really
yeah,
change.
yeah, yeah.
So some of
That's
the
what I'm
other
saying. I mean,
bands,
imagine. I mean, if AC/DC was around now, like they would have had a couple albums that were just like, I mean, look at Metallica. Look at all the stuff that Metallica did.
yeah,
And they would. There's a sound that changes, and then they go back, and then it's exciting, and then it's just part of the life cycle of the band.
that's the truth. It should be part of the life cycle of the band.
Yeah.
Uh, Sometimes I think bands have a hard time like veering away from what they know. They're afraid to turn off their fans,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
no, for sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're never gonna please everyone, so like you might as well just please yourself first,
Yeah,
and then just take I mean, constructive criticism is always welcome, but it's just like some to a point, then the rest is just like you take it with a grain of salt a little bit. You know what I mean? But I mean, you have to listen to your fans, you have to listen to the critiques, and then what you do with that information is where the next album, makes it or not. You know what I mean?
for sure.
We always listen to everything, and then a couple little things go in the trash. But like generally, like we really like value those opinions from everybody.
That's cool. I think that's a really healthy way to look at it. I also think that some bands they play their music and they only write or they write obviously what they want, and that's the goal, and that's a it's a cleaner version of the music because it's not sell out. You're not doing
Yeah,
this
yeah,
to do that, but it keeps the band happier also because they're actually doing what they want to do.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
So what was the writing process for the Square like for you all? Did you guys change anything from the last album to this, or was it still pretty similar?
It was pretty similar to the writing process for everything else. I mean, usually like Kevin and I will sit right here and just like jam some guitar riffs on like a drum machine, like make some drums that are just like it's just a fast beat or a slow beat or something like that going through it, just really hacked together, not good. They're on time, but they're just like bad sounding drums just to get an idea and jam with it. But then like, once we get a couple riffs, we start chaining things together, a small song starts to take structure. We'll sleep on those a little bit and then think about some other parts. And usually like a structure starts to get found. You know what I mean? There's a natural path that a song has. Um, and then from there, we'll take those layers, elaborate on the layers with either keyboards or more guitars, depending on what it is. If there's a melody or something we hear on top of those things. Then it would go to drums, and then the drums would get kind of put in, but we don't record those yet. It's just like more of a like
Scratch track.
yeah, it's like well, it's mostly for the drummer to like learn the guitar riffs to play along to, and then we get to listen to it, and then we go back and like loosely adjust the drums for like if there's a big move, like if he goes like half the speed or whatever, or like we were jamming it, and then like he did something that like needs to be translated into the scratch drums. It's essentially a kit without toms. You know, it was a
Okay.
hi hat crash, and then just like snare and kicks. So like it's just the general like speed of the song, no fills, no nothing. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
it's just a super basic version of it. So once that gets ironed in, um, we'll generally take those, and then the vocals get demoed. So Sabrina will sit with Jim, and they'll kind of make all the vocals come out with the ideas that we have. Then once we take that, we get those scratches. She'll go rehearse those for a while, just against her own demos. Before then we go in and we do like the actual drum recording. Then once the drum recording is done over those scratch guitars, we go record the real guitars over top of the real drums. Kevin and I do bass. We added all of our keyboard tracks that we made and would have had done in advance. Um, then Sabrina would go do all of the actual vocal takes. Like she'll go back to the studio and like recut everything with the practice that she's had with herself, essentially. So she's singing it as if it's her own song now. You know what I mean? Rather
Yeah.
than like I just wrote this. So you get a different performance from her definitely after she's done that, and then after that it gets mixed, and then that's where everything starts to sound like right and like balanced and stuff, and it gets fine tuned, and you start seeing the jewels, and then it gets mastered, and then that's it. It's out. Like we send it off, and it gets pressed and all that fun stuff.
All the fun stuff. Yeah. How long does that like how long did the square take you from like the time you started till it was done
um,
recording?
I don't remember. I'm trying to think when they did the. I know the drumming started in about January. I think we started. We might have finished the demos like before the or right after or Christmas, I think last year. And then I know in March we did the drums, and then we mixed when I got home after that. I think we did the whole recording process when I was in between the Vader and the Windrose tour. Um, it's probably like three. Like once we do drums in the studio, which is like the actual recording portion of it, it's probably like 3 months. And I mean, we're not there the whole time, but like it's 3 months off and on, or we're there for a couple of days or whatever, or like we're grinding. Like Kevin and I'll spend like a week and a half, like just here, just like recording guitars. Everything's digital now, so it's just like Axe Effects. We capture it, and then it goes to the expensive studio to get like messed with. So like luckily like we can spend a lot of time here and do it. And Sabrina spends a week doing vocals usually. Yeah, mixing takes about a week, and we're there for about a week. And then mastering takes about a day and a half. So I mean that's what I'm saying. Like I think we're really going for it probably about 3 months of a cycle, because like there's edits there's other clients that need the
Yeah.
studio, blah blah blah. But I mean it's not cheap, and it's time consuming. But that's
Yeah,
that's the body of work that you live off of essentially for several years when you do it. So I mean you have to put that time and effort into it.
for sure. Well, it you should, right? Because it's like once it's out there, it's out there forever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You do a half-ass, put out a half-ass album, 10 years down the road, you're like, God, I wish we'd have did better with, X,
Yeah,
Y,
yeah,
Z, whatever that is.
yeah.
Right on. What's the next year look like for Seven Kingdoms?
We're going to Europe in February with Unleash the Archers. So that's our first tour back over there from or for next year. We'll come back, try to finish some of the demos for the album. I mean, hopefully by summertime we're done essentially with like the basic structure of the songwriting. And then I think we're supposed to maybe go back and do a couple festivals, hopefully, in the summer. And then we're looking for a tour in the fall. But luckily, that's not up to me nowadays. We've got management and booking agencies looking for all that for us. Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to tell me what's next. So it's
Right
kind of
on.
nice to not have to think about that now, but you know, still keep the eye on them, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, you're the CEO essentially,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
for sure.
Just, hey, no, we don't want to do that. Make sure we're doing this,
Yeah, pretty much.
which is cool because it actually it leverages your time, I think, a lot better. So you're able to do other things like write and focus on some other activities
Oh yeah,
while the
yeah. No, I mean, there's enough going on right now. It's just like I'm kind of happy I don't have to chase all that stuff around.
yeah,
There's enough to chase around.
yeah, that's the truth. I wish I had a little more help on, next to me taking care of some of my things like
Yeah, yeah,
one
no.
day, you know. What so out of your years of touring, like what trying to think of the right words to say it. I'm kind of brain farting. Uh, is there a time where you were just like, holy shit, I never thought that I would ever do this thing.
Not really. I mean, everything's a step, I guess. I guess I don't know. I feel somewhat jaded nowadays because like even like working for other bigger bands, like I've seen a bunch of like kind of crazy stuff, like just like seeing like arena shows, like the Powerwolf stuff, like it's just kind of like, man, like it's kind of crazy. Like I'm watching all this happen, but like at the same time, it's just I'm not sure I'd ever want to be an arena band. Like there's so much stuff involved. Like I would be totally satisfied just selling out a 1 or 2 thousand cap club twice. You know what I mean? Versus going to like a 15,000 or something. I mean, sick if we did it. I mean, obviously there's you'd be hiring people, but it's just like yeah, just seeing like arena stuff, how big it is and how much manpower it takes is kind of crazy. Um, but I mean, I think a lot of the unbelievable stuff is hopefully yet to come because then I'm a believer of everything already.
That's
So, I
yeah,
mean, honestly, like every time we've been on stage, it's been a good show. There was a calculus that happened like to make that happen. You know what I mean? So it was like, oh, okay, good. You know what I mean? I mean, honestly, like I'm of course thankful for those moments and stuff, but at the same time, like we did this because of this. You know what I mean? And like this is the payoff. Like, oh, okay, good. So that's kind of there. So hopefully all of my unbelievable moments are still to come.
for sure. So is there a band out there that you would overall everyone else would like to go out on tour with?
um I mean, it would be sick to do any of like those big like when either like Sabaton or like Powerwolf, like Sabaton, Powerwolf, Halloween, they do those kind of like arena. I would love to open in an arena tour. I would not like to be the headlining arena band. So like that I would like to do. I would like to have that experience because it's just you're playing in front of so many people as a growing band. It's just like I don't know where else you get that volume of exposure that quickly. Just
Right.
because you're on an arena tour. So like that was an amazing spectacle to see for the Windrose guys when we were just over there. So like I'm curious to watch that pay off for them next time they headline. And that'll be like I'll be like, that was really good. Like I'm glad they did that because now their data is much better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always cool from a fan's perspective to watch bands get out there and get exposed to larger crowds and see their fan base grow.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, as a fan, I want them to keep fucking making music. Like, come on. I don't want
Oh
them to
yeah, yeah,
stop.
for sure. No, I mean that's the way. That's the only way that we can grow is just by doing those moves and then testing it, doing the move, testing it, doing the move, and you only move forward or you do it again only when it moves forward.
Yeah, that's the truth. Out of out of this last tour, what kind of issues did you guys as a band run into?
Um, there wasn't really much. There was mostly any like issues were mostly on the like logistical side. It was just so cold, like it was snowing, just like, and we're from Florida, so like
Yeah.
none of us had ever really been through cold like that for such a long period of time. I mean, it was like we spent pretty much like the whole like week, like I think 7 or 8 days, like in like single digits or like minus Fahrenheit degrees. So like that was really like nerve wracking and like just kind of treacherous because the drives were long up there.
Yeah.
So like those were just higher stress drives and like just less comfort. Like everything was so cold. Like even in the van, if the heat was on, like it was just so cold. Like you're laying down in the back, like it's just it's still super cold. So that was really the only issue was the weather. But I mean, we got very lucky getting home safe without any mechanical troubles and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's good. Those are, especially in wintertime when you're touring and it's cold out and snowing, I think that's always a really big concern. Like, shit, we don't want to obviously hit ice and go off the side of a mountain or,
Yeah, yeah,
get
yeah.
into an accident or anything crazy.
Oh yeah. No, I mean it was a couple like times like we slipped and stuff, but luckily, we were taking our time and just did it as safe as we could, got through it.
That's good. And so you feel like this tour for you all was like a giant step for you since it was like your first time headlining out west?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I consider it like a giant step just because like we were playing with ourselves. It was more like it's like a it's like putting a bow on a present, I guess. You know what I mean? It's like you've been spending all this time putting this stuff like in a box, but then like when you seal, it's like sealing that portion of our career. You know what I mean? It's like now we have all the like data in this box. So now we take this large chunk of time that like we did with these supports. Like now we got this many people coming to the shows, and then we open the next box that's larger, and we fill it with bigger tours and more risk and all this other stuff. And then when you do the headliner after a couple of years of that, the bow, like you just want to look at the bows, be like the bow's bigger. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like the strategy behind it. So I mean, in terms of just like longevity, like we've been able to like headline the whole US markets. So like that's really good. Shows were good. Now it's just about where do we go from here and like what's the moves that make us put double the amount of people in next time when we go by ourselves. So we're gonna make those moves over the next couple of years and then try again.
Right on. That'll be cool.
Yeah, yeah.
What city like do you like playing more than any of the others? Is there one?
Um I like I mean they're all different. Chicago was really good. We had a lot of friends out there. I really like San Diego just because I like San Diego. But I think that's more, just like the stuff around there. I mean, nothing against any of the people. It's just like I like where we play brick by brick. It's like there's all kinds of stuff like right there. It's pure Southern California, like, and
Yeah.
it's a cool place, and the shows are always good. Seattle's always kind of rowdy and loud. Chicago's that way too. Can all the Canada shows were great. All the West Canada shows were good. I mean, really, honestly, they were all like evenly good. I mean, we got what we expected out of them.
Right on.
Yeah,
It's always good because, I mean, it's so many of my conversations, the concern is that, well, like with category seven, low ticket sales, people aren't
yeah.
showing up to the show. You're like, but years of grinding and doing those things over and over and over again, obviously that's how you build, a steady fan base that comes out to your show every time you see them. And
Oh yeah, no, it's important to retain those people and then always get new ones. Like you don't survive unless they're coming out.
yeah. Do you guys do anything like crazy with merch, like tour specific or date specific shirts when you're out?
We just usually we have a tour shirt that we usually run with on every tour, so and it always changes. So like, right now like we if we have a US tour and like a Europe tour anywhere near like 3 months together, we wrap it into a world tour shirt. So like we can take that same design, in both markets. But then other than that, we have a bunch of merch that like we've printed for like songs or whatever, but they don't have like dates. I'm not sure we would do like I mean, if we did like a specific like one-off shirt, it would be for something like 70,000 tons or maybe a festival or something, but it would be just like a really small run. But really right now it's just, it's branded merch that we can sell everywhere without dates or like a world tour shirt.
That's pretty, I think that's smart. I'm sure you guys will hit that level where you're like, okay, cool, we can actually do like this shirt
Oh
specific.
yeah, yeah. No, it was crazy. Powerwolf did that every day at the tour. They had like a date specific run of shirts, and those were the first ones gone every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hatebreed. So Hatebreed does that. I love Hatebreed. And
yeah,
they do those show specific shirts and same thing. Like they sell so freaking quick. You're like, oh
yeah,
God, please don't sell out.
yeah, yeah,
You know, you do those
yeah,
smaller runs and it creates the FOMO, which makes people come out
yeah.
like, I gotta buy it.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know. Uh, Camden, dude, I greatly appreciate your time.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you for having us.
I want you to come play Louisville.
Right on. We're working on it.
Right on. Well, when you do, hit me up and I'll take you out. We'll get some great food.
Right on, man. No, we appreciate your time. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with me. I look forward to seeing what is to come for Seven Kingdoms in the future because you got a new fan in me, my friend.
Thank you very much, man.
Hell yeah. Have a great night, dude.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thanks. See ya.